Long before hip-hop, rap, or even the spoken word, our people were linguistic gymnasts. They could turn a phrase with the most versatile and well-versed members of society. How are these people who were denied formal education able to use language so well? What is black talk anyway? According to Dr. Rashidah Smith, an international linguist, recently retired University Distinguished Professor of Michigan State University, who is now teaching in South Africa, black talk is a language mixture, a combination of language and style, and it's adapted to oppression and discrimination. And it is important that we know is wrapped up in African American culture. In other words, Africans who were violently brought to America came from various tribes along the west coast of Africa. They were unable to speak to each other, let alone this master who barked language at them. They had no schooling, but they had to learn how to manipulate what was given to them in order to communicate with each other while the overseer were overseeing. And talking about being able to do it without pen and pencil, without schools, without school books, they did it. And we need to applaud our people that went through that. And they came up with a language that was suitable for communications. They talked to each other in codes. So the master, he didn't know what they were talking about. He let them, he would let them drum when they first came to America. The drummers, they could drum, but later he found out, okay, they must be communicating with each other with these drums. Let's cut that drumming out. Okay, so then he let them sing. And oh, why did he let us sing? Because he didn't know. When we were singing Sweet Lord, Sweet Chariot, we get ready, get up and go. So African American has been called so many things over the years. It's been called African American Vernacular English. It's been called an unsystemized. It's been called a pidgin. It's been called broken English. But we need, like I said, we need to applaud the people that came up with this language. And you know, when you learn a new language, okay, what we do backwards things in this country. We tell them they got to have a language, a foreign language, to get into college. So we teach them a foreign language in high school. They pass the language acquisition age. They need to learn a new language from babies. Because if you learn it after you have already formulated your language, then all you can do is take that new language, that new vocabulary, and insert it in your existing linguistic and syntactical structure. So what I mean is that you're not going to change your whole way of thinking. You're just going to substitute a new word for it. So what happens is when you say that something is broken, or it's not broken, it's new. Okay? It's what we had to use to get over. You know? So it really hurts me that when someone says, oh, they talk in Ebonics. And any old thing that come out of their mouth, they call that Ebonics. Well, that ain't it. Ebonics is rule governed. It's a systematic language. It was established. And who established it? Our folks established it. They took that vocabulary that was given to them by the slave masters who was barking commands at them. They learned how to piece together that language, and they put that new vocabulary into that existing syntactical structure. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. Okay. Let's see, I'm going to try to work this thing. He showed me which button to push. Let's make sure I have the right button. Okay, we're going to our slides now, and I didn't have the right button because on puts a point somewhere. Okay. All right. You know, one of the things that we're doing at the university is we're teaching with more technology. I'm teaching courses online and using all kind of technology. I didn't go to school to learn how to do it. I learned how to teach with books and lectures and sitting around and talking about them. So this is incredible to me, to be able to teach a course online and have discussions with students who are in Florida, Texas, other places, instead of just sitting in my physical classroom. But like I said, I didn't go to school for that. So I have to pick it up as we go along into the 21st century. Okay, I wanted to give you, like I said, what we're talking about, what is the meaning of black talk? And here we have on our first slide, and I'm hoping you were able to read it. Black talk, also known as Black English, Black language, Black talk, African American English, African American vernacular English, Ebonics, the language of soul. And it is an Africanized form of English reflecting Black America's linguistic, cultural, African heritage, and the conditions of servitude, oppression, and life in America. Comes from Dr. Smith, wrote that in 1977. The term Ebonics was coined by a Black psychologist in 1975, Robert L. Williams. He was at a convention, and a group of Black professors and psychologists were at this convention, and they didn't appreciate the way that the psychologists were talking about the language of African American school children. So they got together as their own Black psychologists, and they coined the term Ebonics, which means ebony for black, phonics for sound. Okay, let me try this again, make sure I got it right. Okay, this is the button for going forward. Oh, I went forward too much. Okay. On your first slide, you're going to see some when I said West African languages. I'm talking about some of the things that we commonly do in our linguistic background. These are the things that we do. And we need to recognize and appreciate and not dog people that talk like this. Okay? One of the things, I was talking to my students in class last Wednesday night, and I was saying something, and they said, well, you said this instead of this. And I said, I got a P.A. Jack in our name. You can't say Jack about how I talk. But I did that for a purpose, to let them know that we come from diverse language backgrounds. And we understand that. In some places we may speak American edited English. Well, I won't say standard English, because there is no standard English. You go down south, you know there's no standard English. You go to New York, you know there's no park to car. There's no standard English. You go out west, you know there's no standard English. The only thing that they can closely resemble what they call standard is what we would call newscaster. And the newscaster that was the most popular for formulating this so-called standard was from Canada. Okay, and his background was French. So we need to understand that we live in a language environment that's rich. And when we hear our students saying things, or our children saying things, rather than saying that's wrong, acknowledge that we appreciate that background you're coming from. And we want you to use that. But also, look here, we need to talk this way over here, we need to talk this way over here, we need to talk this way over here. You can't go into the supermarket and say, you're hired over here. Or can I get an app? You gotta know there is a special language that's required for that. Just like if you think about it this way, your doctor comes to talk to you and he explains to you your condition. Then you overhear him talking in the hall with another doctor. Is that the same language? No, it's different. Because they have a different linguistic system that they have learned, and they can manifest that in their conversation. And our conversations, they'll give us a different one. It's just as the same with us. Acknowledge these different linguistic systems, but make sure that we know which is appropriate for that audience. So I want to talk to you a little bit about, am I doing okay? Okay, I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the forms that are in Ebonics. We're talking about, these are West African language forms, and I can't even see my own front. Can you all see that? Okay, one of the things we have is a repetition of the noun subject. And we often hear this verbalized in, my father, he worked here. So rather than my father works here, we would say my father, he worked here. That's a repetition of the noun form. That comes from West African languages. Another example is, if I can read my own writing, is a singular plural. Rather than saying one boy, 5 boys, the number is indicated by the number, which makes perfect sense. 1 boy, 5 boys. Okay? The number is indicated in the number. So rather than saying 1 boy, 5 boys, which would be what we would consider to be appropriate for English, we say 1 boy, 5 boys. You know, why? Because the number is indicated in the subject. And that comes from West African language.